I used to skip my math class and come down and hang out with my wife's grandpa, who's in business back in 1959. 16 years later, me and my wife ended up buying the shop out from them.
I said, I'm going to buy this shop from you. I'm going to own this shop.
You want to get some real good information, have somebody call on the phone and secret shop your shop and record the phone call. It's an eye-opening experience when you have somebody do it.
If you have been to a shop and they have DBI processes that are in place, everything is smooth, and you can see this is what I had, this is confirmed, this is the end, and here's the pictures that prove it, that's the better experience.
Welcome to the Garage Grit Podcast, and we've got another panel for you today. I'm your host, Brad Hurlock of AA Shop Marketing, as you know, a digital marketing company for auto repair shops, specifically and exclusively. And today we're going to be talking about who's running the show, your lead technician or you, and what that actually looks like at shops and that challenge between you. And so we've got three great guests with us today. We've got Reggie from ASG, we've got Josh from May Automotive, and we've got Tom from Total Automotive. Let's see here. It's Indianapolis, Utah, and New York, if I have that correct. And so why don't we take some time real quick and introduce each of you so that we can know who we're talking with today. And so, Josh, why don't you start first?
I'm Josh Brooks from May Automotive in Neath and Reggie. We are a 6-bay shop on there. Third generation owners on there. I used to skip my math class and come down and hang out with my wife's grandpa, who's business back in 1959. Later, when I got set up on a blind date with her, I ended up in her whole family and eventually ended up working for her parents. So then I would work for them for 1 year while they got somebody who they wanted to actually take the position where I was going into. And I don't know, 15, 16 years later, me and my wife ended up buying the shop out from them.
Hold on, real quick. I'm sorry. That single year, were you were already married to your wife or not yet?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So it wasn't like a Jacob and Leah type arrangement.
No, not quite.
Not like the biblical setup. Okay.
Well, now looking back, it almost feels like that, but no. But buying the shop out a couple of years ago now. Had it, I believe, 4 years. I don't know, 10, 15 days, something like that.
Nice. Happy anniversary.
For us and training up the next group. We have 6 kids, 3 boys, 3 girls. Hoping that one of them, if it tracks correctly, one of my daughters, one of their husbands will maybe be into it. And we'll go to our son-in-law, just like they did grandparents down. So
right, that's kind of the trend, right? I mean, it was the grandparents sold it to the daughter-in-law and his, and then again, the same thing. Yeah. Yep. So, all right. Well, that's an interesting.
Meet up today.
Okay, Reggie, how about you take a turn? Tell us about the shop. Tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, so we are just northeast of our major metropolis, Indianapolis, but we're still well within a very highly populated city. We are a 16-bay shop, about 20,000 square feet. We've got 3 techs, with one of them being our shop foreman in the back. We've got 3 GSs, or general service lube techs, 2 advisors, myself being one of them, and then myself being a service manager as well, and then a parts manager and kind of fill-in driver for us as well.
Okay. All right, Tom, take a turn. Tell us about the shop. Tell us about you.
So located just outside of Buffalo, probably half a mile outside the city, 8,000 square feet. We have 7 lifts. We do ADAS. We do high-end diagnostic. So we're more into the high-tech part of repair, along with general service. 4 techs, 2 service advisors. I have a manager. As Brad alluded to, I'm in the way now, so I'm more of a back-end owner now, where I don't have to be here if I don't want to. I have a great staff running the place. And actually, we're celebrating our 40th year in business this year, so big milestone for us, and we're planning that big celebration with some kickoff events and stuff like that. So we got a lot going on, but it's been an industry ride for 40 years.
Okay, 2 shop anniversaries. Got it. All right, nice. and on different ends, right? I mean, Josh, you're not on the 40th. I mean, for the shop as far as multiple owners, yes, but not for you specifically. So that's fun. So I think we've got a nice, good stretch of people to weigh in on this topic at different perspectives, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for. And again, the topic is who's running the shop, who's actually managing, who's actually calling the shots. If you wanted to put in a new DVI process in place, do you let your lead technician weigh in on whether or not that's going to happen? If you want to change the way the flow of the shop is happening, because you've worked with your coach and they say, hey, let's do it this way. Do you let the shop, the lead technician push back and say, nope, it's my way or the highway? And to what effect or what extent, right? I mean, so that's, how do we actually manage all of that when we get pushback? Maybe it's not just from the lead techs too, so we can talk about that as well. Maybe it's from the front of the shop as well. Who knows? Do any of you have a specific story where you did try to implement a particular process and you basically felt like you hit a cement wall because one of your team said that's bad?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of going through that right now. We use Service Intel for our CRM, and it's AI driven. I haven't gotten 100% buy-in from everybody, and
so that's the new change. You just changed over to Service Intel.
Well, we changed actually about a year ago, year and a half ago, and I see the value in it. But I'm looking at it from the owner's perspective. The manager has not bought into it 100%. He sees the value, but hasn't bought in and pushed the staff to do it. And actually, just this week, I asked the why. And I think that's important when we do things, is ask why they're not buying in. And once we got the why out of the way, they felt it was clunky for them to work with because they were trying to do it on tablets. I said, well, what about laptops? And they said, yeah, that would be easier. So I went and bought a laptop. Sure. And now all of a sudden I got to the bottom of the why the technicians weren't using it, because they felt it was clunky and hard to use, where if I would have known that a long time ago, I would have bought laptops much early in the process. Sometimes we have to dig a little bit of why the buy-in isn't there on something.
Well, why did you choose that platform?
I chose the platform because of the AI predictability of looking at my database and being able to predict out when cars were due for oil changes, when they were due for predictive maintenance. So it made sense for me, and it worked really well, and it does work very well. But with anything, it also is, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't give it the right information, if you don't put a mileage on a work order, and now it thinks the mileage is 0, it calculates the average driving off because it isn't calculating correctly. And now the mileage is off on when that car should have come in for an oil change, come in for a maintenance service. So we have to, it's a program we have to maintain and watch.
Okay. All right. And you refer to it as a little bit of an AI type model.
Oh yeah, it's definitely AI driven. It's predictive maintenance. It looks at everything.
And we actually had a panel recently about how to use just last month about how to use AI for shops. And so this probably is, or possibly is, a good example. But really, the reason I'm bringing it back up was because that too, I mean, that exaggerates the garbage in, garbage out. Like if you put in the wrong data points when you're asking an AI related, if you're using AI to answer a question and you don't put in the adequate number of data points, it throws back garbage every time, right?
Yeah. Where I liked it too is we can look at Carfax information, and I use the example: customers out on a Sunday and they decide to get their oil changed because you're not open on a Sunday. We don't know that car got that oil change. So we can go in Carfax and see that car did get an oil change in between the last time we serviced it. We add that into Service Intel as an added service. And now the next time that customer gets a reminder from us, that's coming from us, not from one of our competitors. So that's another reason why. But there you go. We'll go back to garbage in, garbage out. If my service advisors don't go and look at the history on the vehicle and compare it to Carfax, then our information is wrong. So
I find it interesting that you just gloss over the fact that they use somebody else for an oil change. Like you don't admonish your customers for, how dare you?
Sweetie,
Quick question on that, Tom. Carfax. I know a lot of shops don't get super detailed or allow a lot of detail on what is given to Carfax. So we check Carfax, and the amount of cars that I will see that just says vehicle serviced, and it'll say it 6 times repetitively under one visit, and it doesn't really give you great info. Do you have that incorporated? Does it kind of loophole past that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at that if it's a case. I mean, I'll go to the other side of it. When the customer comes in, we actually show them the report that we have on file. And we say, hey, this is what service history we have on file. Is there anything that we need to add to this? Is there a time that you went to the dealer for something? Or is there a time that isn't on here when you went and got an oil change? And we'll actually edit their history in our system so that it reflects a more closer view of what their car is. So, you know, it's all about the interview process and dealing with the customer at the counter when they come in, but also sometimes they're blown away. Hey, you knew I went and got that oil change done? Well, we get the customer back because we know they're watching, you know? So I mean, it's both sides.
Yeah.
We also know that you cheated on your spouse. We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah. This AI does more than just check on your oil changes, sir.
Yeah, it's watching us all the time.
Social media history that So anyway, okay. Well, all right. So talk to me a little bit more about So in this particular situation, it's been a year and people still aren't adequately using it. So it's been kind of limping along, bad data in, and the issue was it was clunky on iPads. And that's what you found out. You said, why? So there's your answer is, if they are pushing back, you need to ask why, like a 5-year-old, until they give you enough answers. Why?
And you know, you almost have to prove it to them it's a valuable tool. All right. They're not going to pick it up and use it on their own. So one day after I installed the new system of having laptops and they're starting to use it, I had one of my service advisors come back to me all excited that he made a large sale off of a service intel report. So now he sees the why. So once we found out the why, changed it, and now he sees the why, I think we're going to have success with it. But it just took a little time to get it all figured out. Could have done it sooner. My mistake.
Yep.
Anyone else with it? Go ahead, Reggie.
Yeah, we actually are very similar, kind of in the middle of a situation, trying to figure out what we're going to do and getting pushback. We're trying to implement a better quality check post-repair procedure of making sure splash shields are on, engine covers are on, the issue has been fixed, a secondary test drive, a walk around to ensure it's clean, no issues. And who's going to do that? Is it going to be the technician? Does he have to take 8 pictures of the car post-repair and add them? Is it going to be the service advisor? Is it going to be a GS? Who's going to do that? Is it going to be our shop foreman in the back who does a lot of our diagnoses? So he sees almost every car that comes through our shop, and he's our only non-flat rate tech outside of the GSs. So does it make sense to stop him from diagnosing cars and go recheck these cars, taking it on a 10-minute test drive? Who's going to do that? We're getting a lot of pushback from the flat rate techs because they don't want to go add a free step of their time that can make them less efficient. And the shop foreman doesn't want to do it because, he could be diagnosing cars. He's not the one who fixed the car, but did diagnose it. So we're kind of trying to find who's going to do that? What is a permanent solution for this rather than, okay, well, someone can go do this one. Someone can go do that one. Where is it going to become a procedure and a process? So
we're in that same portion of the boat too, Reggie. It's trying to figure out exactly how to implement forward on there. We still use a paper form. We're not doing real DVI portion yet.
Yeah.
We did a little bit of a try before you buy and portion, looking a little bit for some of the other DVIs, auto vitals, and some of the others. In our kind of grand plan, we're going to try to move forward with soon. Our thought is when the customer arrives, I'm going to see if our front desk people, service manager and service advisor, can go out initially and take the pre-pictures, odometer, everything else. But on the back end, you're exactly right. We don't have buy-in from guys who will do them. It's the heart where you got.
We're in that same boat. Because we that's what we do up front. We do the check-in pictures and the walk-around pictures. Our resolution at this time currently is going to be us advisors doing it. There's only a bit of pushback from the front end because, again, I'm the advisory and service manager, so I'm taking on a lot already, but our other advisor up front is currently in college. So I don't have him on Mondays and Wednesdays. So I can't go do a 10-minute test drive on 6 cars on Monday and Wednesday and have no one up front. I need help up there. I can't take the time to go do all of these cars in this process. So it's just not logistically smart for me to do it, but flow wise and shop, it feels that that's the best. So that's where we're trying to pick and choose where we're going to do this and who. That's where we're getting a lot of fight in that process.
You know, if it does end up being multiple people, it still seems to me there needs to be one owner. Is that what do you guys think about? Like, someone still needs to be, this is your responsibility, even if you have to delegate it to somebody else on Mondays and Wednesdays, right? Or something to that effect. Tom, it looks like you have a thought. Looks like you're about to share something.
Oh, I got tons of thoughts.
Bring it.
Please.
So Reggie, you need more information. How are you paying your techs? Flat rate?
So we have our shop foreman, who's our process is our shop foreman, our main diagnostician, almost touches every car, whether it's oil change or diagnosis, it goes to him and he inspects it and he tackles the reason for their visit, whether again, it's an oil change or a diagnosis. He then brings that back up to me up front and we make the recommendations and sell the repairs. That then goes and gets dished out from me to one of our flat rate technicians. We have again 2 flat rate techs. Or if it's a really easy job and they're busy, we'll give it to one of our 3 GSs, who are then hourly. So then, of course, work's done and it comes back to me.
So your dia guys is acting as kind of a triage of the repairs coming in to the building,
And he's salary.
He's salary. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said my guys don't like doing it for free.
Yep.
But what about comebacks? Does that get charged back to them?
That's a really good question, which was also kind of where we said, okay, well, first of all, if they don't want to do it for free, maybe we can pay them. But I trust my guys, but there's always a concern as a business that is someone going to take advantage of that? How do you hold someone accountable to that if they didn't diagnose it and then they're checking it out? You know, we've got multiple people. How do you hold that accountability? Is someone going to ask for too much time and they say they've done more than they have?
So you don't pull the money from them if they're a flat rate, they do the job, there's a comeback. You don't pull the money back from them on that job.
A lot of it's situational dependent. If it's a clear and obvious, I completely messed this up, yeah, they're just going to fix it. There's a lot of times where it's, something that they missed or could have been a bit more detailed on and finding whether that is the final test drive. We try and work with them. If they're asking 6 hours because of something that they could have recognized beforehand, they're not getting 6 hours. A lot of times what we try to do is say, hey, you missed this while you were in here during this job. I will pay you the difference of what it would have taken you to add that to your job had you had found it at that moment. And create that extra.
And those who are listening in, everyone else is nodding their head.
So also, do you use a labor matrix and a labor multiplier?
Yes. Yep.
So essentially, my thought is they're being paid extra on those jobs to cover that type of situation. So they should do that as part of the job because they're already getting more than the job pays from the
Very true.
multiplier. So, and that's the topic. Once you set the procedure, they don't really have anything to say about it. They have to follow the procedure at that point. But I mean, you're already compensating them on every other job you touch throughout the day, whether it be 1/10. I mean, what's a test drive take? 1/10? 2 maybe?
Yeah.
So, a comeback could be an hour. So, there's a lot of cars that go through on the 1/10 test drive and checking off and hold them accountable to it. We have a DVI similar type step in our built-in as a can job, and we put it on everyone as a quality check, and they have to mark it off that they've done it, and that's my accountability. If it comes back with a brake making noise and they just did the brakes on it and they marked it green on the test drive, well, that's my accountability step.
Yeah. And we're trying to, and that's kind of where ours very becomes situational. And I would love your input on this, being the owner aspect. Since our diagnostician is pretty much always the one diagnosing and making that recommendation, and then he's not doing it, my tech is, so I have to hold that tech accountable, but I also have to hold the shop foreman accountable. A lot of times in that situation, we make the shop foreman do the comeback if it was a misdiagnosis. But that can become a tricky situation to where my tech took that on the test drive and he did his quality check after his work and this was missed. So who do I hold more accountable in that situation?
I was talking to a shop the other day, and I was shocked that they do 2 test drives. In a situation like yours, they make the tech drive, and then they make the shop foreman drive even further. And they were logging like as much as 30 miles on test drives.
Okay.
And I found that to be on the high side. Well, what do you guys think of a 2-person test drive? Is that are we killing resources too much?
I don't think so. If you can make that resource happen, which that's also something we're trying to do. If you can do it, do it. When my other advisor gets out of school, I mean, that's probably what we're going to do. It's going to be one of us doing it. And because we can afford to do it because someone else will be here. So,
I mean, you mentioned that you had a parts guy in your operation that's kind of doing a dual role as a shuttle driver too. I mean, he's an absolute resource if he's got the knowledge and to be able to recognize on test drive. That would make it part of his job experience.
that was a big thought of mine. He is unfortunately getting older. He's been in the industry for a very long time, but his recognition of things like that to, truly pay attention deep down for something like that is probably not ideal. So that was something I was hoping for, but it just doesn't work out, fortunately.
I know for us, a lot of times it's a little bit job dependent. We do a lot of big jobs, engine replacements, transmissions, timing belts, those types of things. And for those, we have just west of town a pretty good incline. That's a hard grade for all the way to the top. And after we got up to operating temp and the initial test drive for some engine or trans, recheck everything, make sure there's no leaks. We go all the way up over, and it's probably a 15, 20 mile test drive on there post before we even ever get to the freeway and run that up around. So,
Yeah.
things like brakes, it was making noise. You pull it in, you hear it, change the brakes. We usually just go around the block, but we try to always have a post test drive to confirm the issue that the customer brought it for is cleared.
So in that situation, Josh, let's say you wanted to change your process. You wanted to have a specific number of miles driven for everybody. How would you approach that with the people doing those miles? How would you actually make sure that that was actually happening? Tom has a checkbox that they have to hit, right? And they have to mark it as a green light. would they just sign off on it saying it was done? Did they lie? I mean, it's, what do you got?
Good
How are you
question.
going to,
Where it is kind of job dependent, I know that's a lot of times, honestly, where our stuff falls through the cracks on there. Yeah, so-and-so's coming to get this one that we finished up doing the water pump on that Dodge 1500. They're going to come at 3. He's got it done at noon. He goes to lunch. Afterward, customer shows up slightly early. Did you take it? No, I didn't yet, but it's good. We usually just hand them the keys, wait until they at least run around the block or the chat. But we don't have a process right now for that. A check box would be a great thing for us there for sure.
Yep.
Some type of final sign off of them.
Which I know, Tom, that's what you're doing. That's what we're thinking about implementing. Because on our, we have a canned inspection that is called the check-in, where all of those pictures that I take go. And we're thinking, let's just add another line to that for check out, where we will put those same exact pictures to confirm the car looks the same, if not better, than when it did on my check-in pictures. And huge question that was just asked, accountability. Tom, what do you do for accountability on, are they just checking that box? If you find someone has done that or not done their checkout properly, what does your accountability process look like for that moment?
So we have a bunch of stuff. I mean, literally we'll talk to the tech and we will question them. I kind of put trip up questions throughout the check where I ask, is this done? Is the mileage recorded? Is this picture taken? Is this report uploaded? So if they go down and just check green on everything, right? And then all of a sudden the tire report isn't there, or the mileage isn't recorded when it gets to the front counter, I'll go, well, why did you do that? This question, you answered it wrong. So I make it in such a way that they have to read each step. Now, obviously, after they do 100 of them, they get used to it. But, there's accountability built into it so that there's certain questions that I have the ability to question why they did something. So that's a big part of it is making sure that it's accountable. And we sit down with one-on-ones with all of our techs once a month, and we'll discuss. That's one of the topics we'll discuss. We also, between myself and my manager, we audit 5 to 10 work orders per week, and we look for those specific things and work order. And actually, what I was just talking about on the service intel at the beginning came out of an audit I did on Saturday when I was home, and I started auditing work orders, and I started to see inconsistencies between all the platforms. They were supposed to be looking up history and giving information correctly. So a work order audit, if you're not doing them, I don't know if you guys are, but it's the best tool you will ever use as a work order audit.
all right, let's get back to the topic. And we've now explored the challenges that we're about to face, right? New DVI process, quality control check-in process, who's going to be doing the test drives. Now that we're going to make a decision, and this is the new law. How are we going to implement it? How are we going to make sure? Because you're going to get pushback. Reggie, Josh, you are going to get pushback.
Yep.
I've joked. Joked is probably the wrong word. I've made comments about sometimes it's easier to replace than it is to train, and that's not really compatible with the current employer market right now. So, what's the plan?
So we, a lot of times ours starts with discussion up front, whether it is just me and Logan, our other service advisor, and we come up with, what needs to change, procedural. We talk about solutions together, what we can do. And most of the time it's more front end, business oriented, less tech time friendly per se, if it's directly related to techs, because that's not what we need to worry about. We need to worry about it being done properly. And we will come up with a couple solutions And then we will grab our shop foreman and we will give him reasoning, the concerns that we have, and the 2 or 3 solutions that we have come up with, and ask for his opinion as to which one of these solutions do you like best and why. And then ultimately us 3 collectively will make that decision from the solutions that up front we have made.
Okay. Josh, what are your thoughts? Are you going to get somebody from inside the shop to be an advocate for your decision? Because that's what I heard Reggie just say, right? Here's the process. Now let's get somebody to buy in so that they can be our messenger on this scenario. Did I overstate that, Reggie? Is that fair?
No, pretty much. And then,
Okay.
after that, once, because he's at that point speaking on behalf of all the techs,
Yeah.
unless he's got crazy pushback and we try and listen to it, because sometimes there's going to be a back end logic that we're not thinking of that truly makes sense. And if there's that big of a pushback, he will give that pushback. We may restructure it, and then he's going to, or him and I will collectively deliver that to the technicians. At that point, it's not a debate. It is an implementation of what we are going to do and that we have decided that. And
All right. So, Josh, the DVI piece, do you have somebody in mind who's going to be your advocate to make this actually happen, to make it actually work through?
So for us, we'd have a couple of guys who are a little bit older on there. They're in their 60s. They are great techs, great guys, everything else on there. But just like all of us, we kind of have our mode of operation where, when you pull a car in, this is what you do first, second, third, fourth step. And we kind of started with a little bit of the plant the seed. My example then was, if you've been on an airplane recently, if you've flown a major airline, in the seat back, they've got pretty much an iPad type thing there where you can watch movies, listen to music, play games if you're a kid, whatever it might be. And if you take one of those flights from like here to Florida or somewhere that's hours long, and then the next time you fly in the little teeny airplane, scrunched together, and don't give peanuts anymore, nothing else on there, and you get back off, you think, man, I might never fly blank airline again. I'm going to go with this other one that, they had TV, I watched a movie, whatever it might be. That's kind of where we're at, I think, now with an industry where if you have been to a shop and they have DVI processes that are in place, everything is smooth, and you can see this is what I had, this is confirmed, this is the end, and here's the pictures that prove it. That's the better experience. And we're at we got to make a change, we got to change and move forward, not continue to do things the way that we've been doing. So we're getting the input from the guys of which one they like more. That way they're kind of looking down the gun of it's coming. Which one can we live with? And we're quick to implement soon. So probably within the next month.
I like that. You actually compared keeping up with, all the competitors have been upgrading to business first class. And you then also need to upgrade to business first class as opposed to a smaller plane shoved in the back coach type environment, right? So, and so get on board because this has to happen for us to keep our customers. Okay. All right. So that was the pitch. And now it's, all right, which one is going to be the least objectionable?
Yes.
Okay.
However, we're still going to end up getting beat up over it. And I'm sure it's still going to be clawing and gnashing of teeth and wailing and all the good stuff. And bleeding from the eyes and top.
Really, it's going to be hell?
Yeah, it's going to be.
There's always going to be a complaint.
Okay.
Hey, Josh, going forward, I don't know how you pay your guys, but if ultimately they're going to make more money by having a more detailed, that's the angle that I use in a lot of cases is look at guys, you know what, if we can sell for each one of you 1 additional hour per day, would you take an extra 5 hours of production pay? per week? And all of them shake their head, yeah.
Right.
We have to do this to get to that step. And a lot of times, Reggie, you're on the right track. I mean, some of my best processes and procedures that I've implemented had not come from me. They've come from my employees. They're the ones using them all day long. Let's make them work for that. And that's the key. And Brad, in our last one, I alluded to, I did a SWOT assessment at the end of the year. And I did a 6-hour meeting with my entire staff on New Year's Eve, and did a SWOT assessment on my business. And the amount of ideas that came from that 6 hours, I literally am implementing them throughout the year, and they all came from the employees. I didn't do it. And the funny thing is when I did it, I had somebody else do it, and I stood in the back of the room behind everybody so they couldn't see me, and they talked freely because I was behind them and I wasn't in front of them.
I mean, they knew you were in the room.
They knew I was in the room, but they talked freely.
It would have been, I got to tell you, a two-way glass, a one-way glass would have been cooler. Okay. But anyway, okay. But they spoke freely because it wasn't you leading the discussion, right? It was a third party outside the shop. You actually brought somebody else in to have that conversation. I wonder if that same principle can be done on a micro basis for people who are really battling up against, like, would the conversation of, hey, Mr. Tech, you can make more money. Mrs. Tech, you can make more money by simply going through this process. Maybe not on day one, but really shortly thereafter, you're going to get a regular pay increase without costing the shop more money necessarily, right? And without actually you spending any more, work hours into it. I wonder if they would hear that message better from someone other than the owner, as where I was going to ask.
I think anything, it's kind of like a secret shopper. Has anybody ever tried secret shopping their own shop? It's a hell of an experience if you do. If you want to get some
tell us about it. Go ahead.
Well, you want to get some real good information, have somebody call on the phone and secret shop your shop and record the phone call and then listen to it. It's an eye-opening experience when you have somebody do it. And right from the way the phone conversation is answered, right down to the sales and whether or not they ask for the appointment. So, there's a lot to be told by having somebody outside give you information.
Why not take it further? Why not have their car come in for service?
We've done that too. We have done, and that's interesting also. So, we're so immune and blind to what's going on throughout the day, and I've gotten a much better view being out of the daily operation and being more looking just at the data that's in front of me all day long, rather than knowing the situation, the backstory of the customer came in and talked to the counter, what the conversation was, and what the tech was talking about when the car was in the bay. I don't know any of that now. All I know is the work order. I know, what the data is for the day as far as the daily numbers, the weekly numbers, the KPIs. And it gives you a much clearer view of what's going on once you are not in the shop working all day long.
Do either one of your shops, inspection, I assume you guys offer like a courtesy inspection anytime a vehicle is in?
Yeah, every car, we check every first item on the work order is a complimentary health inspection.
Do you pay your techs for those or not?
I'd pay my tech 0.3.
0.3 for the inspection?
Yeah.
That was our biggest hiccup that we've probably ever really had to sell and convince techs on, because ours, we don't pay them for the inspection. We don't, they don't look at a car for free in general. If they have a car, there is time on there, but the inspection is also to be done within that. And that took a lot of convincing for a long time for them to see the positive of performing the inspection. It may take you half an hour, but when I sell you, 3 hours and 5 hours with, a marked up matrix, that comes back to you. You are getting your return on that. And it took a while for them to see it or truly see it, but they do now, and they've all bought into it and understanding the value.
So there's many different ways to look at it. I mean, and if you talk to 5 different coaches and 5 different shop owners, they'll all give you a different view. But the way we do it, we do pay in 0.3, and we actually attach a dollar figure to that. And then we have built a separate payment line, which is complimentary service payment. And we take that dollar figure and put it to complimentary service. And then on our P&L, it goes to advertising. So that's how we're accounting for it. So it's part of my advertising budget. So this way I'm justifying paying the tech because I'm accounting for it in my advertising budget. So, and if you can prove to them, if you do this inspection, we're going to raise the average repair order by X amount of dollars and the average hours per RO up, and you're justifying it that they're getting paid more because of it. And, it's a win for the shop, it's a win for the tech, and it's a win for the customer, and if I can have the 3-legged stool and balance it on all 3, answer yes to all of them, then we do it. That's kind of how we base all our decisions.
Okay. I was wondering about that because, like you said, you asked 5 different shop owners, there's going to be 5 different answers. So
That's why I started it that way, because
how they do it.
That's my view.
Yep.
All right, so we talked about pushback on software and on processes. What about training? Do any of you require certain hours or number of hours of ongoing education, ongoing training for your technicians and your advisors? And have you gotten pushback on, I don't want to take these classes. I don't want to take this. I don't want to take this time away from working on cars.
Yes. We have one guy, and he absolutely views all training as completely a waste of time. He's done it for 30 years worth of trainings. He's not going to another single training, no matter what. Yeah.
Well, he's been doing it for 30 years. So he has, they were old even 30 years ago, but carburetors, like, they don't exist anymore. You can't make the argument that cars are different beasts than they were 30 years ago.
And a lot of
different beasts than they were 10 years ago.
That he was doing was a heavy industry for Cummins and Caterpillar and those types of things. But it's been interesting to, when we come back from some of the classes and show, these are the notes, hey, we found out this, everything else, you'll actually look through it and you can see him think, that might have been some good information and stuff on there. And I'm hoping this upcoming year that we're slowly making a lot of implementation changes in the last couple of years we've had them. But I'm this year going to find one of the trainings that is like a custom fit to him, that's a hands-on go-to hour, 2-hour thing where you're going to come with us and they feed us everything else on there. You're going to see that this is good. And then you can choose the next one you go to. We got to go to 2 this year. And that's, me and my wife have kind of a running joke of we're going to get into 2 trainings before he retires while he's around.
So we implemented today's class. I put it out to my staff, and I'll go back to, ask them what they want. Put it out. Do you want to go for a 3-hour class after you worked 8 or 9 hours and eat cold pizza? Or do you want to, do 5 minutes of training every day on your phone and train consistently? And I can tailor it to what you need to learn. And we implemented it. It was probably the best thing I've ever done.
And that's todaysclass.com. That's specific for auto repair shops. And it's just 5 minutes a day?
Yep. They get 4 questions fed to them every day. It takes them about 5 minutes. They answer the questions. And what it's done is it created a little bit of competition. Everybody's looking at their scores. by the shop and competing against each other to get a better score. We give out some awards once in a while for who was the best for the month or for the year, who's the most improved. But from an owner standpoint, it gave me information on, hey, this tech answered this question wrong 5 times. Maybe he needs some remedial training in this subject. So it's giving me data that I normally wouldn't have. And we've been on it for about 1.5 years. And then, I'm with a coaching group, and all the shops within my group are on the same grouping, so we compete against each other. So it's my shop against other shops. And when I get beat by another shop, I tell my employees, hey, this shop over in Arizona beat me this month. What the hell's with that? We got to do better next month. And then they pick it up next month. So
I think what's happening is they're sandbagging it so they can be the most improved technician over the course of the year.
Yeah.
it could be.
Make sure that's not the best reward. Yeah. We don't have any. We used to have. There would be benefits, even paid benefits, if they did so much training a quarter, and that just kind of slowly faded out. And a lot of our guys more or less have faded out because they were all really good, and we weren't taking a lot away from the training. And since we've stopped, I've been looking for something to start up again, and that today's class was one of them that I was thinking about.
Awesome.
Because our 2 flat rate guys, they don't do many diagnoses. They're good, but they don't do a lot of them. And when I give them some, you can kind of see that they have fallen behind a little bit just because they're out of practice with it. And cars have changed and just continue to change yearly. So I'm trying to get something back into that. They all were food motivated, all still are, but after working an entire day to drive an hour to then go get training for 2-3 hours, they have no interest in it. Most of the time, the only training we do now is we send 2 people to Vision a year, whether it's 1 service advisor, a tech, 2 techs. So Vision's kind of not the only training that we consistently do. But today's class, I've heard a lot of good from. I'm glad that you're doing it and having success because I think I'd like to do that.
The other thing we did is we built into their pay plans incentives for ASC testing. And it goes with today's class. If somebody wants to go for an ASC test for a certain subject, I just tailor their training daily to that. And then when I see the scores are consistent, I say, you're ready to go take the test. Do you want a pay raise? Go take the test and get an ASA.
Yeah.
So we kind of built in some triggers for them to be motivated to train on their own.
We had that as well, actually, but that got eliminated by our owner 10 years ago, maybe. He and our shop foreman just didn't really see the benefit or, purpose of ASC. They didn't agree with, those tests and the results, and, there's not really any good training in it. It's more or less just taking a test and then someone gets more money. So that kind of got eliminated for us years ago.
I'm sorry, but isn't the concept that if they are at a higher ASE certification, if they have those, those earmarks, they should be producing more at your shop?
Yes.
So I feel like, Tom, do you just flat out, you just increase their rate, or do you also expect, hey, we're giving you this extra rate, but as a result, we're expecting a higher number of cars or a higher number of billable hours?
What we found is proportional. As they get more skilled and get more tests, they're getting those cars, they're producing more hours. But
what I'm asking is, if they're not, what happens? That's what I'm asking. They got the extra certification. You've given them a pay bump because they're at that next level, and they're not producing more hours or more cars. What's going on?
That's all handled in a one-on-one. When we do those one-on-one conversations, that's a motivational thing. It could be a job mix. It could be the advisors are giving them the wrong jobs. So there's so many factors that go into that we look at. But the long and the short of it, and we'll go back to, we want our shops to have that competitive advantage. If we can have ASE certified technicians in our shop, that's a competitive advantage over somebody else. So it's also, I had one tech that specifically came to work for me because he was never given the option to go get ASE certified at any of his other jobs. So when I interviewed that technician and I told him, I will pay for you to go get ASE testing, and I also will give you a raise after you do it, he came to work for me, and he's turned out to be an awesome tech. So, in the job market now, anything you can do to attract those quality techs, you need to do it.
So when you said competitive advantage, you weren't actually talking about customers. You were talking about hiring.
Yeah, I was talking about techs.
Yeah, that's interesting because I found that, if you are ASE, if you're a shop that's ASE certified, by all means, brag about it on your website as Tom does. But at the same time, I don't know how many of your customers actually know what that means.
An ASE knows they have a identity
but an
problem.
employee, right. No, but I'm saying, Sally with the soccer mom comes in, she hasn't looked into what an ASE certification does for her,
right.
As, right. And so maybe there's an education gap there that we need to do a better job of when we're actually out there talking to our end customers. But I don't think the average one knows. So when you said the competitive advantage, you were specifically talking about you are trying to find the right fit employees who want to know more.
Absolutely.
That's your employee avatar.
Well, and they're motivated. If I'm interviewing somebody and somebody says, "Oh yeah, I don't want to do training, I know everything," that's a non-motivated employee. But if I have somebody that says, "Hey, you know what? You offer training, that's awesome. I'd love to take the test," that's a motivated employee. I'm looking at that person closer.
Yeah. Whereas Reggie, I think, what you just did, what was done 10 years ago, potentially was to kind of put cruise control on some of that training, some of that motivation, actually.
Yeah.
Right.
And I can definitely see it now. And as I mentioned,
and you know what? There's probably a correlation too between they're wanting to know more, being motivated, as Tom was talking about, versus also, no, we're doing it my way. I already know everything I need to know. So you don't need to tell me what we're changing.
How is, with that today's class, a thing that we struggled with our local training was realistically, they weren't up to date with what's coming out right now, which is a lot of what we deal with. I mean, we're a Euro specialist shop. So any of the new anything, it's in the Euros and we're seeing it. And they're just not helping us with that. And any of the local training classes that we can just send our guys to go get cold pizza for 3 hours is the today's class. How is your selections there? Do you feel as if it's very helpful with modern necessities?
I can tell you, and I'll go back to the AI driven. It's AI driven, so it learns you as you're going, and it feeds you questions on what it knows about you. So, and you can tailor it. If you want somebody to specifically be in brakes, or like there's ADAS, if I want somebody to specifically train on ADAS, I pattern them to ADAS and it's feeding them that type of information. So I got a GS tech that I'm sending for the ASE maintenance certification. So I've been feeding him a lot of maintenance related questions to get him prepared. So I can tailor it to that. I'll just give you one example. It's the most simple thing as an owner that we would overlook and say, there's no way my guys know that. I saw a trend on brake fluid. My guys didn't know everything they needed to know about brake fluid. I started looking at the questions they were missing, and they were missing the simplest questions on brake fluid. So I brought in BG Products and I said, here, do brake fluid training for me here at my shop. And my guys were like, we didn't know any of this. I assumed, because I never asked, that they knew everything to know about brake fluid, and they did. So, it just tells me information that I didn't know. I mean, you talk about training. Literally, I'm getting off this call, and in an hour, BG Products is holding a training seminar for me for my guys here, hosting it in the shop. So, training's a big part of what we do.
I'm thinking about your situation, Josh. I'm just thinking about the average age of your technicians and whether or not they would gravitate towards today's class.
I mean, listening to it, I'm thinking, especially if there is the AI portion model on there, that could be a good portion on there, because I think that's our one guy, at least, his big hang up is we got an hour of driving there, we got an hour of driving back, we get a little bit of food, they're going to gloss over the topic, and you're going to get some high points and maybe a couple of talking data, but nothing that's real where you get a stick, something that's 10, 15-minute type thing on there. That might be the ticket, is do it, it'll be done.
Yeah, well, but you also made a valid point is, when you're selling the training to the employees, right, you've got to contrast it to, this is going to be different because, this is going to be better because, I mean, let's face it, someone in their 60s is not that, 50s and 60s, where it's not that we're not food motivated. It's that I don't want to go help my friend move his furniture for some pizza. Like, I'd rather just give him some money to hire a mover than, right? But in my 20s, that was fine. I'm happy to do that. That's great. Let me go do this. But food and beer, that's perfect. But that's not, that wanes over decades. So
people are looking for work-life balance too, and you got. Some of our employees have kids, family, new wives, whatever, okay? We're taking them away from it at night. And if we can just make it easier, I mean, one of the guys I've got here is 68 years old, and he consistently trains every day on Today class, because I'm not, after working 8 hours, and, I know how I am in my 60s, I like to be on my chair at 8 o'clock watching TV, and I'm not taking him out in a class till 9, 10 o'clock at night. So it's making it easier for them. It's spoon feeding them training they don't even realize they're getting.
The only good training that comes from our guys that actively happens now is our shop foreman, our diagnostician. I mean, he is just a literal genius and loves to be stumped and loves that fight of training. So he'll just go self-start his own training, and with all the modern things and just researching and finding all of the data and information that he can, he'll share it with our techs. Like, hey, this was really cool, and I've seen this, and we're going to see more of it. And it kind of walks through with them, or sometimes he'll have a weird diagnosis and hey, look what I had to do to get to this and to find this, and this is this problem. So that's about, the only active ongoing training.
But you're really strengthening his training, because if you go learn something to the point where that you can then go communicate it to somebody else, you actually have learned it.
Yes.
As opposed to just heard it. Right. And so that's interesting. And I caught that from what you were saying, Josh, too, about how I think you said it about sharing notes with each other when you get back, as far as here's what we actually pulled away from this training, and sharing that with each other, so that it might be overlapping notes, but might not be the exact same. Okay. All right. I think that's also a valuable tool. So again, it came back to money. It came back to the motivational fit of the employee, right? And it came back to how it's going to be different than your past experiences, because we listened to you before about what you didn't like about it. And now it's not going to be cold pizza. It's going to be these benefits instead. Yeah. I'm so done with cold pizza. That was decades ago that I stopped being okay with cold pizza.
If you're in Buckley, you get chicken wings too. So that's.
Oh, hey. More food that my doctor says I shouldn't be eating anymore.
Nope.
Right. What other dynamics? How about this? Have any of you changed how you pay your technicians? How did that go over? Like, say, salary to flat rate, or or a modified version, or flat rate plus bonuses. Like, the pay is different this week. congratulations, everybody.
2.5
You
years
guys,
ago.
if you're listening to this episode, like Josh is like, Josh was on mute while he was laughing. So thank you, but it didn't have to be. It was, so seriously though, like, what have you done? Have you ever had that experience?
Yep, did it 2 years ago. Went from 37 years of paying hourly, straight hourly, and went to a production base, similar to flat rate production base, paid. And when I approached my guys on it and I designed the pay plan, I said I would run the two pay plans side by side, and whichever one paid you the most money for the next month, that's what I would pay you that week. On week number 1, they made more money on the new pay plan, and I never paid them on the old pay plan in 2 years. So they went from producing 32 hours a week on a 43 hour work week to producing 40, 45. I got one guy that consistently does 50, 55 of them. And he's making more money, and so am I.
Okay.
We do that. It's a very similar thing with our, when we take them from a GS to a flat rate, we call it our hybrid, where, hey, you're now hybrid. You've shown that you can be a flat rate technician. And if you can earn yourself more, then we will pay you that way. But, some weeks are going to be a little bit lower and slower. As you learn and progress, then we'll give you that hourly rate. We don't have any problems with that. The last change that we ever did was doing, which I'm not sure if either one of you guys do, but tiered flat rate technicians.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. So once we had some pushback when we went tiered for their pay, but, it also creates much better performance. You get so much more out of that. And, they really show what they can do.
My guys at above 50 hours, they're making $8 more an hour than they were at the base pay. So,
yeah,
but it's on a tiered system. And my guys that consist
On the low tier, are you about to fire them?
no, at the low tier, they're at the low tier a lot of times not because of anything that has to do with them. It may be a slow week. Maybe it's a holiday week. Maybe it's they took vacation time that week. So, those all play into it. But if I was to take all those and average them out, they're still at the 40, 42, 45 hours a week. So, and they have to understand it. They have to budget for those slow times, know when the holidays fall into, when they're going to take a vacation, they're going to get a lower paycheck. But they certainly don't come and give it back to me when they do 50, 60 hours and they're got a huge paycheck.
Yep.
So they got to realize
our lowest tier starts even before 40 hours, so
Ours
I think
too.
ours is like,
32 and a half.
exact. Yeah. I think we're very close to that. But yeah, so we try and make it to where, a bad week, you're still going to have a livable paycheck.
Yeah. 32 and a half is where we start. And then our next tier is at 35 and then 40 and then 45 and 50 and above.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah, like you said, it's a livable wage. There's nothing wrong with it. But if they're motivated and they're money driven, that Friday afternoon at 4:00 when the car has 45 minutes worth of work to get done, on the hourly system, they were like, you know what, I can't finish it today. I'll bill it out on Monday. Now, if it at 7 or 8 hours is going to go into their last week, well, they're going to get that car done and out the door. So it's a little bit motivational to get those extra cars done at the end of the week.
Definitely.
We do a tiered thing as well. When we first implemented it, we told our guys this is how it's going to roll. Our same guy that will do training, he was pushed back on it like crazy and said, I don't want to do that. No way, you're not changing it. So we did it for everybody but him. And it was about 3 or 4 months in, the other guys were talking about it and showing, hey, it was summer. We get all these AC kits, jobs, portions and stuff on here. I'm a top tier portion on there. I'm like $75 an hour for every hour. He goes, whoa, wait, what? You know, yeah, I got top tier hours and stuff on here. So that next time he came in, hey, could you re-go over that with me, maybe just a little bit on there? And all our guys, except for our one flat rate guy, are now on that program.
I don't know. I kind of, yeah, I'm surprised you didn't be like, nope, you missed the window.
You wanted it, you're stuck on it there now.
Yeah.
Sucks to be
We'll
you.
revisit
Next
this
time
in
when I make a
January.
suggestion, next time I make a suggestion, maybe, you know,
Yeah.
it should.
Let's roll with it. We don't do things here willy-nilly. Come on.
What other factors do they ever? Have you ever had any of your technicians kind of push back on whether or not they want OEM versus other substitute replacement parts? Do they get to choose? That's all front of the shop, right? That's all handled by your parts managers. The techs don't get to weigh in on that,
Yeah,
right?
we get some pushback from the techs from time to time. You know, the simplest thing, one will say, these tie rods, this nut that goes on it, I can never grab, you know, the stud for the tie rod. It's always stripping out. You know, I don't want to use these tie rods. And then, you know, I'm like, well, that's fine, but these are going to be the best tie rods. These are going to last long. These are going to fulfill our warranty. These are an OE spec used on many OE cars. I'm going to keep using these tie rods.
So you just lay down the law.
Yeah.
They just and deal with it, figure it out.
It goes away for about a year, and then sometimes they're like, man, these are still, unless we have comebacks with these, this is what we're using.
I make them justify it. If there's something in service information that says, you know, recommend use OE, there's certain situations. I think it was Ford alternators. You had to use a Ford alternator. Aftermarkets were performing correctly, and they were setting the check engine light or doing something. But, you know, if there's a certain situation that they can justify to me why to use it, we'll use it. But we, like you, Reggie, you said, you know, sometimes we have to use stuff because of our warranty. And, you know, labor claims. Sometimes we don't get labor claim reimbursement from OEs as opposed to one of our parts vendors. So, and it's stuff that they don't think about. They're not aware of it. So once we explain it to them, hey, look, this is the reason why we do it, you know, usually they're okay. But if they can justify it to me, I don't have a problem using OE part.
We have that same, you know, kind of OE only on some parts. You know, they'll do their research. You know, Hondas and Toyotas, some of their alternators, I mean, you have to buy, and compressors, OE only. And, you know, we'll trust their input on that. You know, hey, this is going to be a bad situation if I don't buy OE. This alternator is not going to charge properly. So there's definitely the input there on those, you know, situations. But yeah, very, very much so, you know, they have to justify a reason as to why they don't like this brand. If they consistently are getting a condenser from this same brand and it's not lining up in the holes, or, you know, I've noticed this connection is bent, then, you know, we're like, okay, well, let's reconsider, let's possibly move brands here.
Right.
But yeah, they really have to justify it.
Find interest.
We talk mostly
Sometimes on there is like with parts and things like that. It seems like on the front end of things, we're kind of that way on, well, I don't like this. Okay, well, that's what we're using. We're done. At the same time, on the back end side of things, like what we've been talking about, DBIs, pay scales, and all the other things that are kind of ambiguous on control, it seems like that's where we have a lot of our heartburn on, because I have no problem with one of the guys coming in saying, hey, this is the move U joint. I like Spicer. Well, guess what? We're going to use the move one, and they had it in town, and the warranty's good. So shut your app and go back out. If they come back in and I heard you going to be doing DVIs, I'm not doing those. we're softer on them. I don't know why, but it is. Probably shouldn't be.
We get softer as we get older.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I think back to the first time I watched my parents have their first, not their first, but in my eyes, it was an eye-opening grandparent experience. And I'm like, who took my mother? Like, where did she go? This is not how she interacts with children. I don't understand, right? It was a night and day type situation. So maybe it is an age thing, right? Who knows? But I don't know. Josh, I think you're right. I don't think you should actually be softer on the process, because there's, but the question becomes, like, what I'm hearing is, if you butt up back against them. I mean, you said you said, this is how it is. These are the parts that we're using, right? And here's the why. It sounds like you're still giving them the why. Maybe we just need to be as hard with the processes. Here's why, because you need to go back and sell it to them, right? And if you can get someone else inside the shop that's not you on board to be the advocate on that hard stance, then it also sounds like a win. So you got to pick your,
and that's exactly why we bring
informant,
our shop foreman, into it, because he can advocate that better as a tech, because my owner taught us the best. He said, what do technicians do? They fix cars, they fix things. If you propose something to them and allow them to, pick it apart or make alternative options, they're going to pick whatever they want and whatever works best for them. And they're just going to try and fix what you're doing. Don't give them the option, but then you also have the relations of, you don't want to just say, I don't care what you have to say, and this is what we're doing. And you want to, create that bad blood within the shop. So we give it to our shop foreman, and he advocates for them and then informs them, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we've come up with collectively. And this is our new procedure. They're going to have their pushback, but at that point, he will advocate for us up front that, hey, we talked about this. We actually talked about that. That is a concern that we had made note of. But this is going to work best because of this. So then he's going to advocate for us up front and just create a better, system.
As the owner, as the top managers, you're studying this portion. This is your vocation, not fixing cars. You're studying the operations. You're studying how it's going to be more effective. You're going to study how to make the customer experience better. Tom, when we talked in that episode, hasn't yet been published, but it will be soon, we talked extensively about collaborating with your not competitors, the other people who are in your industry that are local, collaborators as opposed to competitors. And that's your mindset. And as a technician, your mindset is, how do I put this part onto the car?
Yep.
And so, maybe pitching that, maybe just explaining it to them that way. This is my vocation. This is why I know this is the best play. Go back and do it. If you really think that you could do this better job, there's at least 4 blocks down of a 2-bay garage. You're welcome to start your own thing. You both, I saw 2 people chuckle at that. Sincerely, have you said that?
The thing too is knowing their personalities is part of it also.
Definitely.
I wasn't really in tune to it until recently, but and we've been talking about doing a disc assessment on our employees and see if they'll take one, so that we can figure out their personality types. So then we know how to approach, because everybody's, if you can understand where they're coming from and their personality styles, sometimes it's easier to sell things to them and get them to hop on board. So we've talked about doing disc assessments, and
we've done that.
Yeah, because they're actually into it. I think they all want to know. So that's something that we're probably going to do in the near future.
Yeah, it went over really well for us. I wondered how that would be taken from the guys. But yeah, they were more or less, really intrigued as to what is he going to say about me. And then they take it, they're like, oh, I bet it says this and that about, the coworkers. And then they get really intrigued and want to learn actually what the others are. And, So it actually worked much better for us than I thought.
Well, in episode 61, we actually talked, we had a guest on, and she runs her shop so that when somebody leaves, she tries to create the complete picture of the different profiles. So it's not all alpha types. It's not all right. You have a full balance. And so when this slice of the pie, this personality type leaves to go to a different shop, retires, she actually tries to hire to fill that void. So she's not only doing it occasionally with her with her entire team, she actually does it as part of the interview process as well.
Okay.
And now that conversation was extended past the front of the shop. It's episode 61 as well as episode 63 were largely about the front end of the shop, about the advisors and about the interaction with the customers. But it came up that they did it beyond that. And so I found that interesting. Tom, you had more to say about that?
Well, I just think what we're talking about with getting that, who's running the shop, if we know who the personalities are, it's pretty easy to figure out who's going to try to run the shop at that.
And so what do you do about it?
Well, I mean, just being aware of it gives you the information you need to do, how to handle it more than fight it.
So a lot of times with those personality profiles, is there this person is a DI or a DC or whatever assessment that you're using, right? You find out the profile of that person. Does it also usually give you a response as far as how to navigate that person's to help them realize the benefit of a particular strategy or
perfect example. Okay. I'm a DS. Okay.
Okay.
My manager is a SC. All right.
Okay.
So if I go up to him and I say, hey, we're going to do this, he'll say, okay. And he'll walk away. Whether he agrees with me or not, he's just going to say, okay. All right. That's the C coming out in him. All right. So I have to approach him not with, hey, we're going to do this. I have to say, what do you think? What do you think we should do about this situation? I let him respond to me first. And then I talk about it. We open the discussion because he's just going to do whatever I want him to do. If I want him to go out and buy pizza for all the guys and pay for it himself, he'll go, okay, that's fine. But if I say, hey, what do you think about, what should we do for the guys for lunch today? He'll say, oh, I think we should buy pizza. I'll say, okay, I'll cover it. So it's just a whole different conversation. So it's how you approach the other personality you're working with. And the same thing happens with techs. If you have a dominant tech and you go up to him and say, hey, we want to do this. No, we're not going to do this. Okay. That might be your older guy in the shop, Josh. And, where if we go up and say, hey, how should we handle this? You let him tell you how to handle it. And then you talk about, okay, that's good, bad. This is what's going to happen if we do it that way. Now it's a more open discussion. So you're allowing him to take the lead on it. So it's just, like I said, I found it very useful. I was never a big personality guy until recently. It's really changed the way I approach conversations with my employees.
And do you also do it on the hiring process too, to find out who they are or how they'll fit in?
We don't, but I don't do it. But if you remember in the last episode, I said that I hire on personality and on culture.
Correct.
Not on talent anymore. So I use some of that philosophy in the interview process without giving them a discount.
Okay. All right. And are you using a particular platform for that assessment?
I just, whatever's out there. I think they're like $25, $30.
Okay. All right. Reggie, what about you? Did you guys use a particular organization or just you found the questions and just had them go through it?
We did not. So it actually came about when we sent our other advisor, Logan, to training when he first became an advisor. And that was actually something that was paid for through one of the classes. And he still had access to the link. They left everyone to have access for like 2 days after training so that they could do that at their shop. So I don't remember who it was, but we then implemented that and tried it. And they said it went over really well.
Josh, you're nodding your head. You thinking about doing this? I can already hear the elder guy in the test. Need to do.
I don't think he needs a test. I think we know where he already where his personality traits are.
Mm, Two of my guys used to be wrestlers, so I think you can just kind of figure out what they are. And I have done a little bit of boxing a long time ago, but it was mostly learn to take the hits, not so much to give them. So
Interesting. Okay. All right. Are there any other scenarios that we need to touch on before we wrap up? I think we're about to wrap up, and I just wanted to see if there's anything I missed that we should, jump on. I see the wheels turning. What do you think, Tom?
I think this is a great subject, and I think it's something every shop owner wrestles with at some point in time. And I think knowledge of knowing how to handle it more than, letting it happen and just going, oh, it'll work its way out. It doesn't really ever work its way out.
I like that point a lot. Like, don't let it lie.
Yeah.
You've got to embrace. You've got to challenge this. You've got to actually take this task on, and as opposed to let it lie.
yeah, knowledge is power. And I got a nice little set of notes from our discussions. Over.
Nice. Quick question. When you chose your manager, kind of how did that come about? What made you choose him? How did your decision process go? And what, again, made you even decide to back out and allow your manager to kind of handle your day to day?
Well, hold on. I can answer. He said, "You're going to do work for me," and the guy said, "Okay."
He said, "Okay."
So it's a long story, but I stole him. And he was actually my parts vendor salesman that used to come into my shop. And I kept an open ear when he came in one day to do my sales call, and he was griping about his employer. And about a month later or so, my service advisor at the time gave her notice. And I said, I need a service advisor. And so I had his cell phone number. I called him up and I said, "Hey, you want to meet for coffee?" And he says, "Yeah, what are you thinking?" And I'm like, "About an hour from now." And I hired him on the spot. And in the interview, his exact words to me is, "I want to own a shop one day." And I hired him specifically because he had that motivation that he wanted to be in me. And flash forward, we were 14 years now. He's been with me. And I am now backing out of the shop, and he is running the shop. So, and I always say, I had to change my mindset as an owner. 40 years ago, I gave birth to this baby called Total Automotive, and I held that baby and grew it for 40 years. I had to let that baby go way off on its own. And now I'm looking at it more from an investor standpoint, not an owner standpoint. This is my retirement. This is how I'm going to make money going forward. And so I'm allowing him to do that for me. And it's allowed me to step backwards and do a lot of stuff in the background now. So once you find that right person, it's an easy decision. He was the right person. And literally he runs the shop every day. And
That's funny because so when I first started here, I was actually telling Brad this the other day. Cars have been my life and always have. They always will. I knew this was my field. And I had first started here, and I had told our owner at a Pacers game, I said, I'm going to buy this shop from you. I'm going to own this shop. Yeah. And he said, "Oh yeah?" I said, "Yeah." And I was still in the back at that time, and worked my way up to the front. He put me in the front, allowed me to go to the front, recognizing that I need that skill to someday do this, and just slowly, kind of naturally started to, be more of the leader around here, even as just a service advisor. Things just slowly started to fall into my lap. And I started to handle so many things because before it was our shop foreman, solely in the back taking care of everything, and our owner up front telling advisors and being a manager. And I just kind of slowly rolled into this position where I started to handle a lot of things in the back and managing everything in the front. And it just naturally happened And then we kind of, made it more official. So it just, like you said, it just fit really well. And then I was the right person for it.
My goal right now is to get what's in my head out into his head and teach him more about the numbers, more about the back end, more of, what affects what. And I don't know how your owner is handling it with you, but, I'm preparing him right now to take my spot over 100%. So, but it's a long process. Just think about it. I've been doing it for 40 years. It's like second nature to me. He's got to learn what I.
That's where we're kind of at a standstill, because it becomes difficult for me to have access, just as an owner and a business standpoint, to everything on the back end.
So,
Still being an advisor. So we're trying to replace me so I can kind of leave that role and be able to solely be back end and managerial. So we're trying to work through that.
I'd love to talk to you off camera sometime, and because I'm sure we could talk a lot.
I love that for sure.
I like that too. I mean, that's this is not the first time that on these panels you guys connect afterwards, and so I'll make sure that we've got each other's shared email addresses or phone numbers in our, in the studio chat. Right? We even actually posted them, so you've got each other's numbers. So green light on contacting each other. And so I'm assuming, Josh, you're also okay with being contacted by the
Absolutely.
And sometimes,
like, man, you got to get a 210 and you got to start doing this.
I'm telling you, the hat is fine. So but the conversations, don't just have to be among the panelists, right? It can actually start inside the Garage Grit Podcast Facebook group, or I've heard some people are commenting specifically on the YouTube channel. You're welcome to have at that. That's the whole point of the Garage Grit Podcast. We're trying to share these stories and these perspectives with each other. We're trying to let your peers be talking with you, even though you don't necessarily get a chance to talk with them directly. And the more ideas we share, the more effective your shop can potentially run. So that's what we're all hopeful for.
Yeah.
Guys, we've been chatting for about 90 minutes now, and that's been great. I think this has been a good topic. I think we've covered. If there's more to cover, let's go back to the Facebook and the YouTube channels, right? Let's go there. And if you're looking to get on one of these panels, then why don't you reach out to me? We'll chat with each other to see whether or not you're a good fit for an upcoming panel. But you can go to addi.me/join panel. That's addi.me/join panel. And let me know that you'd be interested in being part of one of the conversation topics. Speaking of future topics, what we're kicking around doing for the month of May, for the panel in May, is internal communication. What are you using? What have you tried using? What's working? What's not working? And maybe the DISC profile assessment will come up there as well. But I've talked to shops who are living in Slack, and I've talked to shops who are using walkie-talkies. And so, yeah, and I got a couple smiles and smirks from that last one. So that it's interesting to hear how different shops are going about it. And so I'm hoping to kind of, what do you guys think? Is that a good topic? Is that a reasonable topic?
Yeah.
How your technicians are talking with and communicating? Okay. With the front of the shop. All right. So that's going to come up in May. What other topics do you think would be good for you? Would you appreciate hearing 3 or 4 other people go into sharing their experiences on? What topics would you want to listen to for future panels? What topics would be worthwhile? Tom, what topics would be worthwhile for the guy that's in the process of buying your shop? What topics?
That's a tough one. I mean, I always said it's easy to get into business. It's harder to get out of business. So, there's so much goes into buying a shop or looking at a shop or assessing a shop. But yeah, no, I'd be open to listening to any information on that.
Okay. Succession planning or shop acquisition.
Absolutely.
Okay. Both sides of that. Okay. Good.
I don't know,
Josh, Reggie?
if it's been a topic, but the adding of value for the customer to be able to increase your prices, your services, because it's hard to just start, my prices are more now. Where are you going to add your values to justify that? I mean, we put a 4-year warranty on everything that we do. So we have, an industry top warranty. But if I want to keep increasing prices, where else am I adding the value? I'd love to talk about where people add values without also putting burdens upon technicians and requiring them to do more, even for free within their already done procedures. So
I've heard people talk about how do I improve the customer experience, and that's an overlapping topic, right? Because that is where the value is potentially, is how do you improve their experiences, and I think if we get creative, with that. So the January conversation was about marketing budget. And yet one of the things that came up actually for a good portion, we talked about different ideas of what marketing actually included. And one of the shop owners from Connecticut was talking about how he gives out flowers to all his female customers. Once a week, he buys a bunch of flowers. They sit on his front desk. And as they come in, he just hands them a flower on their way out the door. And so it's probably not limited to just the female customers. Who knows? I'm not sure where. Anyway, so but I mean, yeah, it could just be small things like that. I don't know. Okay. But I think you're right. I think it would be an interesting topic to bring on 3 or 4 people to share how they've actually brainstormed on that topic. Josh, do you have any ideas? Am I catching you off guard here? You've had a little bit of heads up. You've heard from Tom, heard from Reggie.
Emerging opportunities, maybe utilizing some of, these resources that maybe heard of before. A lot of the AI-based type things. I know that you've done podcast portions on some of those as well. But maybe kind of what's coming down the line, upcoming for things to look for, and what's still needed in a shop, and maybe what's not needed anymore. And I still have my dwell meter because we get the old farm trucks. We're working on a lot of classic cars as the president of the car club here in town. And that's not something that we really need in the shop anymore. Some of those types of items.
So what dinosaurs are still in the shop that need to go?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Huh. All right. Well, good. All right. That's great. That's I appreciate that. And guys, I think that's a wrap. So thank you for being a part of the Garage Good podcast. If you're listening in, I hope this episode was helpful for you, as I think it was for each of the guests here. And like and subscribe. Continue to enjoy the podcast. Continue to share it with others who are trying to grow or improve their shop. They're the ones that are going to be wanting to listen in. And I'm thankful for all of the listeners that we have. Thank you, everybody.